Hello friends, in this video I will explain you the second block of ms26. The block name it is role dynamics. The first unit of this block it is unit 5, and name of this unit is concept and system of roles. Okay, so in this unit we will study about roles. So the first thing here given about role. So what is role? So role is the position one occupies in a social system as defined by the functions one performs in response to the expectation of the significant members of social system and one's own expectations from that position or office. Okay, so here we can say that role is a type of position one occupies, and that role, and or you can say the role is a position. Okay, and that position is defined by the function one performs in response to the expectation. It means it is a type of function one performs. Role is a type of function which a person performs in response to the expectations of the other and the expectation of that rule holder also. Okay, so now you can see defined by the functions one performs in response to the expectations of the significant members of the social system. It means wherever a person holds a role, so there the role is type of, you can say, a function, means that a person performs according to the expectation of significant members of the society or significant members of the social system, and one's own expectation also influences or defines what the function the role holder will perform. Okay, so here it was the concept. Now while office is a relational and power related concept, role is a role is an obligation concept. So now you try to understand so what it is. Office is a relational and power related concept. So office, it is about relational. Okay, it means it is related to other people, and the power related concept according to the position, according to the office the person holds the power. Okay, that is the office, means office is a type of power related concept, but role is obligation. Obligation means according to the expectations of the other members of the system, or according to the expectation of himself or herself, the role is performed, or you can say the function is performed. So office is concerned with the hierarchical position, and now you can see office is concerned if I office is concerned with hierarchical position and privileges, while a role is concerned with obligation of position. Okay, it is about office is about hierarchical position and privileges, while role is concerned with obligation of position, means whatever position due to office the person hold, so according to that whatever obligation that person has will decide so what type of role that person holds. While office is a point in the social structure defining an office holder's power. So now you can see here office is a point in the social structure defining an office holder's power. Rule is integrated set of behavior. Okay, so rule is, it is about integrated set of behaviors expected from a person occupying that office. It means it is type of integrated behavior the person is expected of that person who occupies that office. Okay, so we can say that the rule, it is a type of integrated set of behavior expected from a person who occupying that office. So in simple term we can say like that role is integrated set of behaviors expected from a person occupying that office. Okay, that is it. So an office becomes a role when it is actually defined and determined by the expectations of other office holders. They are given an office becomes a role when an office become a role when it is actually defined and determined by the expectations of other office holders. Okay. So here you can see it is clearly mentioned that office can be said as rule if it is actually defined and determined by the expectation of other office holder. It means here other office holders also have expectation from that position, and those expectations will determine what the role that particular person possess or that particular person has. So here significant others given. The significant others having expectations from a role is termed as role senders. They send expectations to the role. The role occupant also has expectations from his role, and in that sense, the role occupant is also a role sender. So now here comes role sender. Who are role senders? So role senders are those people who expect something from the role occupant. Okay, and here the role occupant can also be a role sender because role occupant also had some type of expectations from his role. Okay, next given the role gets defined in each system by the role senders including the role occupant. So whatever role the role occupant occupies, that is defined in each system by the role senders. So role senders may be significant members of the system or the role occupant by himself or herself. Okay. Next given, the concept of role is vital for the integration of the individual with an organization. Why it is vital? The concept of role. The individual and organization come together. Okay. So concept of role is important because organization and individual come together through a role. Means role is the integrating element in between the individual and the organization. As you can see here, the first organization has a structure, has goals, and individual has some type of personality and need, and these two means whatever goes here for the organization and whatever the need for the individual, so those things are going to be integrated by role itself. Okay, by role only. So individual and organization. Okay, there it is, the only the role part is the common in between the individual and the organization. So it means we can say role is the integrating element in between individual and the organization. So next, the two role systems. So what are these two role systems? An organization can be defined as a system of roles. However, role itself is a system. Now you see here written, an organization can be defined as a system of roles. In organizations, so many roles are there, and so many role occupants are there. So we can say that an organization is a type of what? System of role. Okay, system of roles. So many roles are there. When we combine those all roles, then we get an organization. And here one more thing given, a role itself is a system. So role itself is a type of system. So let's start. What are the thing inside this system? So from the individual's point of view, there are two role systems. What are these two role systems? The system of various roles which the individual carries. So now you can see first it is the system of various roles which the individual carries and performs. So the system of various roles which the individual carries means which the individual performs and do with the individuals, or you can say individuals do and perform. and here that is known as role space. And the second is the system of various roles of which his role is a part, that is role set. Okay, so it means here two, from the individual's perspective there are two role system. First it is role space, the second it is role set. So what is role space? Space is a system of various roles which the individual carries. Okay, from here it will be clear much. But now you can see individual it may be the self, and now you can see individual may be the husband, the father, son, manager, member, and so many things. So if we place the individual at the center, so these all functions, okay, now these all roles are performed by the individual. So here self representing the, okay, now not visible now. Okay, now here role space I was explaining. So here role space means, here you can see in the figure, so self. So self means the person or the individual in the organization. So he has so many roles. So means he has a role of husband, he has a role of as a father, he has a role as a son, and he has a role as manager, he has a role as a member. So these all roles are performed by the individual, or means carried out by the individual. So that's why this the system of various roles. So this system of various roles, so many roles the individual performs. So this system of various role is known as role space. Okay, and next here role space is a dynamic interrelationship between the self. So now you can see the role space is a dynamic interrelationship between the self and the various role an individual occupies, and also amongst these roles. Now you see here role space is a dynamic interrelation. There it is, dynamic interrelationship among these all roles. So between the self, so between the self and the various roles. So the various roles means various roles are as husband, father, son, manager, member. So these are various roles, and how these roles are interrelated with the self or the individual. So that is role space. Okay, now next comes mapping role space. So same mapping role space. So this is the figure for mapping role space, and here the term here explained, role mapping role space explained. The role space map of an individual can be drawn by locating the self in the center. Means if we have to draw a role space map, then we have to locate the self in the center, and various roles occupied at varying distance from the self, and whatever roles that individual occupies, or that individual performs, so those all roles should be placed from the self, and so at a certain distance from the self. It means here the self is the center, and around that self different rows we can put, just like here you can see in the figure. Here at the center, here the self with the individual, and these are different rows. The various rows of A are located in 4 quadrants according to the context. Means according to the context we can uh, distribute different roles in different quadrants. So since here four contexts are given, so 4 contexts are just like here family, organization, profession, etc. We can you can add whatever number of context in which you want to differentiate different roles. So most segments or role space can be added in the diagram. Okay. Next, given role set. Okay, mapping of role set. Mapping role set. So here, in case of role set, we place the role at the center. Okay. So now you can see here written role, it is at the center. It means GM, in general manager, and all other roles we place at certain distances and in different parts according to the context. In what context we want to uh, differentiate those roles from each other, and from the central role. So here the central role is GM, general manager. In a role set map, the occupant role, so occupant means this GM is the occupant's role, will be in the center and all other rows can be located at various points on the map. So other rows, and these all rows are all other than the central row are going to be placed at certain distance from the center. So for writing this row set uh, or mapping row set, what are the things which we consider? The first thing which we should consider is write your own role in the central circle of the map outline. So first of all, you have to place your role at the center, just like here GM written in the center, and then plot the other rows department wise according to the distance you think they stand at from our role. According to the department wise, just like here you can divide those all, just like here HRD manager, so this is in different departments. So according to different department wise, you can uh, differentiate those all rows. And here you can see use each sector, so sector on the map outline to represent a particular department in the organization. So now you can see here these all means A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. These all are representing different departments. According to different departments, you can differentiate roles. You may further subdivide the sector space to accommodate more departments if necessary. So it depends on if more departments are there, then in that case you can divide these all sectors accordingly. Okay. Now next given here, circle 1 in the outline map indicated the position closest to your role, whereas circle 5 indicates the position out farthest from your role. Distance indicate the sense of proximity you have with the role. The closer the relationship, the closer you plot the other role of other role to your own. The farther you plot the other role, the more distant is the relationship you have with it. Now of course, see the diagram. Here you can see. So the farther the distance from the central role, so means if there is similarity, there it is more similarity, then that role is going to be near to this GM, means the central role. And if there it is uh, if there are differences, a lot of differences, okay, then in that case that role is going to be at the farthest. So you can say here this the nearest one is closest to this central role, and this outermost circle represent the the role which is very dissimilar from the central role. Next here given, knowledge of these roles, this two role system is useful. Why? Okay, now the question is why we have to study whether it is role set or role space. So knowledge of these two role systems is useful in understanding some role related problems and thereby dealing with them in an effective manner. So these role system, what are these role system? Role space and the role set help us to understand some role related problems and thereby dealing. If we understand role related problems, then we can deal with those problems. So that's why it is important to understand these role systems. A role set map can help an individual in formulating a visual impression of the proximity of various roles in role set from his focal role. You see here, a role set map can help an individual in formulating a visual impression. So it helps. So this role set map helps in visual impression of the proximity of various roles. Proximity, how those roles are near to each other or how far they are from each other. So we can know from role set map. Okay. So this insight may help in developing strategies for inter-role linkage. If we understand these things, if we understand the proximity, means how near or how far different roles are from the central role, then in that case we can develop strategies to link those all roles. Okay, so that is the end of this unit. Thank you all. So in the next video I will explain some other topic. In the end you will get the note of this unit. Thank you.